So my sister-in-law thinks she's funny. So you know what? I decide to do a prank using her own tactics. Let's see if she likes that. I'm gonna do it in front of the whole family. I hope you guys are having a great day today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's jump right into this wild story. So background. I'm a 32-year-old female and I have a brother, Dave, who's married to Sarah. They don't have children yet. I have a son who just turned 4 and a 3-month-old daughter with my husband. My husband and I live in Belgium most of the time, but we travel back to visit my family about once a month in England. At home, we speak both English and French to our children. My husband's Belgian, and right now, my son is the very sweet phase where he'll sometimes mix up the two languages and say a couple words in English in a French sentence or vice versa. This has never posed a problem to us, and even the staff at his nursery has reassured us that it's very common and they tend to grow out of it once they start school. My sister-in-law has decided that this is a problem. So when we're visiting my parents and she notices my son doing this, she'll correct him. But she does this rudely, whereas my husband and I will just gently correct him. Anyways, we're visiting, and at the moment, she's deciding now that instead of correcting him, she's going to just start ignoring him when he does this. I sort of noticed her doing it when we arrived, and I thought it was odd, but assumed maybe she was just stressed, since her job is quite intense. But only really became an issue yesterday. My husband was talking to my dad outside, and I was feeding my daughter in the other room. And I'd left Lewis with Sarah and Dave. When I came back downstairs, Lewis was crying, and I managed to understand that he tried to ask Sarah for a drink. He has a special cup that he uses when he's holding, so it was obvious what he meant, but she just ignored him. So I asked her why, and she explained that she wasn't going to reply to him unless he said the sentence correctly, and that I should not be, quote, ignoring my son's obvious speech issues. For context, it's not that she did not know what he wanted. She told me she fully understood exactly what he wanted, but that she was deliberately refusing because he did not ask correctly. Well, that made me mad. Luckily, my husband came inside at the moment and pulled me away so we could calm down and settle Lewis. That night at the dinner table, Sarah asked me to pass her something, but she said it in bad English. She is English, I just mean that she's asking for a slang. And I think she said like, pass us the peas, will you? I had a bit of a epiphany, and I just decided to totally ignore her. She asked again, and I did the same thing. My brother asked why I was ignoring his wife, and I said that I'm not able to reply if she can't speak English correctly, and that it's wrong of him to ignore her obvious issues with grammar. Well, everyone's pretty mad at me for that one, and I admit it was incredibly childish. But she was needlessly being a jerk to my baby. Should I just apologize? Alright, so this comment kind of sums up exactly how I felt about this story, so let's read it. I don't think you're an a-hole, not an a-hole move at all. Not even justified at all. I feel like this is a form of aversion therapy. Or the golden rule if you want. If you follow it and treat others how you want to be treated, then this is clearly how she wants to be treated. Fair game. If she thinks it's a reasonable and acceptable way to treat a child, a bloody 4-year-old, then why would it not be an appropriate way to treat her? What's the problem with it? If it wasn't a problem when she did it to someone, how is it a problem when someone does it to her? Guys, that's a very good question. Let me know your thoughts about this story. Make sure you drop your opinions and comments down below, as I do enjoy reading them and seeing all the conversations everybody has, and we're going to turn our attention to the final story. The title of that is, My Neighbor's Cat Adopted Me. I've tried to get rid of it. He won't go away. Now my neighbor is threatening to sue me, and so is my landlord. I have my own cat and a pet door. My cat goes in and out as she pleases to use the litter box, and to probably get into trouble. Lately, my neighbor's cat, who's male, has invited himself inside via the cat door. He does it late at night, in the mornings, heck, whenever. At first, I just shoo him out, but that made him come in when I was asleep to eat my cat food. Apparently, my cat food is better than his. I've been woken up by him meowing and often spraying my wall, leaving a horrible odor. I've tried spraying this thing with the hose, yelling at him gently, throwing him back over the fence, getting those little things that are supposed to scare off cats with sounds, locking the pet door. He meows at my door in that case. Nothing works. He now pretty much lives in my yard 24/7. I've given up getting rid of him. He runs in when I open my door, the garage door, whatever, and then hides so I can't find him to toss him back out. Now, my lease says I can have only one cat, which I do. Now comes the problem. My landlord came over for an inspection, which I was aware of. The problem is my neighbor's cat came running in while he was there and sprayed the wall, jumped on my counter, and began eating my lunch. So it looked like I owned two cats. My landlord asked if it was mine, which I replied it was my neighbor's. He says another neighbor has complained that the cat's over at their house, every day spraying, and they've seen it come to my house, so it must be mine. He's now fining me and telling me to get rid of the cat as he's ruining the wall. Well, my neighbor is also unhappy with this because she doesn't see her cat much. I've personally walked him over to the door, handed him to her, and see her toss it right back out after I leave. She's now threatening to sue me for stealing her property. She doesn't want to keep him inside because he meows, and whenever she lets him out, he's right back in my yard. She's also mad because he's gotten fat on my cat food. No matter where I hide it, the cat gets in the bag for lunch in the middle of the night. She's saying I've, quote, damaged her property. Can my landlord or neighbor actually fine or sue me for a cat that I've tried to get rid of? How do I respond? I'm going to see if I can find a few neighbors to sign a paper saying she owns the cat, so I'm not too worried about my landlord. But my neighbor? What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here again. There's 2 updates for this story. Let's go ahead and jump right in that. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Here is update number 1. I tripled my efforts to get rid of him, until he spent his nights meowing at my porch and upsetting my other neighbors. My landlord has now served me fines for A, noise, and B, damage caused by the cat. Because, well, he comes into my house despite admitting that I don't own the cat. I didn't get much in the way of the legal advice last time, so hoping for advice, can my landlord fine me for damages caused by the cat I don't even own? Can I sue her for the damages? And edit, guys, I've tried to get rid of the kitty. You see, to think that I go out feeding it every day, I haven't done that for months. I used to because, well, I felt awful for it. But once he got old enough to spray out, he went. I know everyone thinks a water gun will solve this issue, but I am being sued. This is legal advice, not cat advice. I just want to know if I can get the fines lifted from my landlord, and if her suing me based on fattening up her cat, and now making it skinny because I don't feed it, has a merit, and if I should lawyer up. In terms of things I've tried, yelling at it, spraying it with a hose, getting little sound devices that blast air when it senses motion, hiding in my house and playing ninja to get it out, locking my pet food up so my cat is unhappy, putting all the human food away, baby-proofing anything that he may get into, calling animal control. They're useless, by the way. If cat isn't right there when they show up, they won't do anything. Talking to my neighbor, talking to her landlord, talking to my landlord, borrowing spray guns from my neighbors, locking my pet door, more than you could ever imagine. And here's the final update. My dad got me an early wedding gift. A lawyer. Turns out those weren't legal papers my insert neighbor served me. I've just never dealt with anything legal at all and was an idiot. I think she can get in trouble for trying to pass them off as legal papers, but I don't care at this point. I'm done with her. I took everyone's advice and hauled off the kitty, to the tune of $25 each time for 3 times. Neighbor went crazy and showed up at my doorstep screaming about how I was going to pay her for getting Kitty out of jail, and I was stealing her property again. And now I damaged it because the shelter made her get kitty shots, as well as being fixed. Luckily for me, I had a recorder handy while she went on this rant. She even approved to me recording to get proof that I stole her cat. My lawyer took it to my landlord, and with a strongly worded letter, he dropped the fees against me for having another cat. Kind of hard to ignore that it's her cat by this point. I did agree to leave behind my pet deposit when I moved out for the cleaning caused by him. My lawyer sent her a strongly worded letter to leave me alone or face harassment charges to my neighbor. She then showed up at my doorstep with said kitty and said I deserved him because I was a horrible person and he was ruined. Well, I called my lawyer again because A, I cannot have 2 cats, and B, what if she claims I stole it? She screamed that she did not want it. Whenever he tries to go home, she'd yell and throw things at him. I have this recorded. In the end, my lawyer ended up calling for a welfare check on her for being crazy. I'm not sure of the outcome of that, and honestly, I don't care. She's gone quiet for now, and that's all I can ask for. I'm getting married in 2 weeks, and will be out of this joint. As for the kitty, I felt horrible for him. Instead of calling for animal abuse, he's now living with my father, who has a very small farm with goats. I still have my lawyer on retainer in case she decides to actually sue me over the cat. But who knows? Fingers crossed she'll leave me alone now. Thanks everyone for all the advice. So I just want to point out, I'm happy that this ended in a happy way, with the cat being at a farmland so it has all the room it needs to roam about and it's not being abused anymore. That's the good note. The bad note is, I hate that OP has such crappy neighbors. Alright, let's read a comment. I'm so happy that this cat ended up with a proper home after all. I know OP could not keep him, but I was feeling very sorry for this poor good boy, who obviously wanted to set up home somewhere else. Another comment replies to that saying, OP never updated on the situation after that, but she seemed hell-bent on keeping him in the comments. She was stuck between a rock and a hard place, but seems to really love him, and talked about taking him in to the farm and naming him once she and her husband got their own place. That's very wholesome. I hope there's an update for this story that lets us know she got the cat back in a brand new home. So make sure you subscribe just in case that update comes out sometime in the future. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mr. Reddito will catch you in the next one.